while NBA YoungBoy sat locked in a federal case that could have ended his career. His houses kept making money without him. Properties he bought during the most turbulent legal stretch of his life quietly gained value while he was behind walls he could not leave. By the time Kentrell Gaulden walked free in 2025, he was 25 years old with a property portfolio worth an estimated $25 to $35 million. This is not a story about a rapper buying big houses. It is a story about a kid from Baton Rouge who turned house arrest, federal charges, and a forced move to Utah into one of the smartest property plays in music. Stay with me, because the strategy behind it is far more calculated than it looks. From Baton Rouge. Before any of the mansions, there was a small house at 3863 Chippewa Street in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where Kentrell grew up with almost nothing working in his favor. His father was sentenced to decades in prison when Kentrell was young, and he was largely raised by his grandmother. He dropped his first mixtape at 15 and kept recording through arrests and jail stints, releasing music even from behind bars. That relentless output turned a Baton Rouge teenager into one of the most streamed artists on the planet. In today's market, his childhood home is worth somewhere between $150,000 and $200,000, a rounding error next to what he owns now. He did not forget it. Years later, he started buying more property in that same neighborhood, betting that the area that raised him could rise with him. That instinct, holding on to where he came from while chasing where he was going, runs through every deal he has made since. His first big real estate move was a warning. In 2018, he moved into a 6,500 square foot Hollywood Hills mansion, spending roughly $3.2 million on the property and another $800,000 fitting it out with a recording studio, security, and furniture. The problem was the paperwork. He was locked into a long-term lease with an option to buy rather than actual ownership, paying around $35,000 a month whether he lived there or not. By the time he escaped the agreement, he had burned about $420,000 on a house he barely used. Painful as it was, that loss taught him the lesson that shaped everything after. Own the asset, prize privacy, and stop paying for prestige addresses. That single mistake steered him away from Los Angeles, and it may have saved him more than $10 million. In April 2022, he bought an 8,800 square foot mansion in the Olympus Cove area of Mill Creek, Utah, paying about $4.2 million for roughly 1.46 acres. Homes in that pocket typically sold for closer to $2.8 million, so he paid a premium for this exact one. He named it Grave Digger Mountain. The timing is the whole point. He had been placed under house arrest in Utah while facing federal weapons charges, an arrangement that stretched from late 2021 into 2024. For more than 2 years, this house was his entire world, so he turned it into a business. The mansion carries 4 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, a 5-car garage, floor-to-ceiling glass framing the Salt Lake Valley and the Wasatch Mountains, and an indoor elevator. The resort-style pool ran an estimated $300,000. The custom recording studio, fully soundproofed and kitted out, added another $500,000. That studio changed the math of his confinement. Instead of losing years, he recorded album after album from inside those walls, generating millions in revenue while he could not step past the property line. The house was a legal cage and a money-making machine at the same time. In February 2024, he listed it for $5.5 million, roughly a 31% gain in under 2 years. After his release, he moved right back in, with armed security now patrolling the grounds around the clock. While everyone watched the Mill Creek mansion, he was quietly buying a second Utah property in Huntsville in 2023, and he gave it the same name, Grave Digger Mountain. This site sits on far more land, potentially 10 to 15 acres, though exact figures were never made public. He bought an existing property and poured money into improvements and security, with total spending estimated near $6.5 million. The logic went beyond square footage. Huntsville is growing fast as technology money and wealthy buyers pour into Utah, and large private estates there have climbed sharply in value over the past few years. Holding a second approved location during house arrest also gave him more room to breathe inside a heavily restricted life, and it signaled to federal authorities that he was serious about staying in the state rather than slipping back to Louisiana. One property was a home. 2 properties, on his own terms, was the start of a footprint. Then came the move most people missed. Back in Baton Rouge, he kept buying, picking up several more properties in the neighborhood he came from, with a total local investment estimated between $800,000 and $1.2 million. There is a real strategy here, not just sentiment. When a prominent figure buys up an undervalued area and visibly improves it, values in the surrounding blocks tend to follow because attention and money draw more of both. By planting capital in the streets that shaped him, he is trying to manufacture his own appreciation, turning a rough childhood address into a long-term investment thesis. His Baton Rouge holdings are now estimated at $1.5 to $2 million, and the real payoff is still years away. If the transformation plays out the way similar celebrity-driven neighborhood shifts have, those blocks could be worth several times what he put in. The single most important decision in this whole portfolio was choosing Utah over the usual rap real estate capitals. A mansion like his Mill Creek place would have cost $8 to $12 million in Atlanta, $10 to $15 million in Miami, and $15 to $20 million in Los Angeles. In Utah, he paid $4.2 million, and it has already climbed more than 30%. He traded flash for value and privacy, buying in a market almost no one in his world was looking at. Naming both properties Gravedigger Mountain was not just sentiment either. It built a small real estate brand tied to his identity, the kind of detail that can add value when a buyer wants a place with a story. The legal story finally turned in his favor. His case had started in Louisiana before being moved to Utah, where he had built his life. After being sentenced in December 2024 to nearly 2 years plus probation and a $200,000 fine in the Utah gun case, he was out of federal prison and back at his mansion by early 2025. Then, in May 2025, President Donald Trump granted him a full pardon, wiping away the remaining terms of his probation, including the drug testing and travel limits that would have boxed him in. Within months, he launched the Massa Tour, his first headlining run in years, and closed it out with a homecoming show in New Orleans. The man who built an empire while he could not leave his own driveway was finally free to move, tour, and expand on his own terms. Here is where the myth needs correcting. You will see wild figures online claiming he is worth hundreds of millions. The credible estimates are far lower, placing NBA YoungBoy's net worth in 2026 somewhere between $10 and $20 million, built mostly on streaming, YouTube, and his catalog rather than touring. And the engine behind that is staggering. He has piled up more than 15 billion views on YouTube, sold over 18 million digital singles in the United States, and became the youngest artist ever to chart 100 songs on the Billboard Hot 100. He does it without the constant touring most rappers rely on, which is exactly why legal restrictions barely dented his income. His real estate sits alongside all of that as a separate, appreciating asset base. What makes it remarkable is not the size of the number, but how it grew. The houses gained value while he was incarcerated and unable to manage a thing. That is passive wealth in its purest form. The takeaway is strip it all down, and the pattern is discipline, not luck. He learned from a $420,000 mistake in Los Angeles, bought smart in a market everyone ignored, protected his assets with serious security, and reinvested in the neighborhood that made him. Between the ages of 18 and 26, while navigating federal charges, house arrest, and prison, he assembled a property portfolio worth tens of millions that kept climbing without him. Most artists spend their money chasing attention. He spent his buying ground that quietly worked while he was away, and it kept working the entire time he was gone. NBA YoungBoy's story proves that even in the most difficult circumstances, it's possible to build something that lasts. While many saw house arrest as the end of his momentum, he used that time to expand his wealth, invest in real estate, and build an empire far beyond music. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more in-depth documentaries on celebrity wealth, luxury lifestyles, and business empires, and let us know in the comments, which celebrity's financial journey should we explore next? We'll see you in the next documentary.